Real Estate Show with Pat Lopez, where we talk everything real estate. Today, my guest is Martin Rodriguez from KW Empower. Martin, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Great. Okay, so I always start off the shows by asking to tell your story. How did you get started in real estate?
Well, I got started in 2010. I started in the rental market. I did that for 9 years, and at that point in time, I was living in Point Breeze, and I saw the new construction going up, and there was actually, believe it or not, there was 750 homes, give or take, that were for sale, and I was like, I need to get in.
Right.
So that was my transition period, and went to KW Philadelphia at the time, interviewed, and I was all in.
Okay, so you started out as just doing rentals? Is that what
I was working for a big corporation that covered probably over, in combination with all developers, over 500 units, and I was just the vice president running everything from getting places ready for the market to more or less just making sure all the turnover, as tenants moved in, we moved people out in that sense.
Now, did you keep track of the people who were moving in to have like a little bit of a leg up? So when you go into the sales, because, at some point, if you're renting, you may be a buyer,
Yes. So people on average stayed with me for 2 to 3 years. So as I transitioned into sales, a lot of people came with me.
Okay.
So a lot of the people that I was good for years, to them, they actually came back.
Right, because you had their names, they knew you, they trusted you,
It's
they
a
liked
relationship.
you.
It's a relationship business. So
Exactly.
they trusted me, and they said, I'm getting ready to buy a house. I don't know anybody else in real estate, and I trust you, so I was in.
Perfect. Okay, that was that was a nice transition there, right? Okay, so what do you primarily deal in? Do you deal with buyers, sellers? What does that look like?
I'm 60% listing based. I would say 40% buyers, and I have a lot of rentals as well.
Okay, so you're doing rentals too.
I do. I have a rental company, so that's it's a recession-proof business.
Right.
Okay. Call it.
And then what's your footprint? Like where do you primarily do your business?
So South Philadelphia, Center City, the Manning, Roxborough, East Falls area.
Okay, so primarily Philadelphia.
Yes.
General. Okay, very good. Okay, so now, when we had a conversation, what really intrigued me, because I like to have a theme for the show, and something maybe a little bit different. I mean, there's nothing totally unique, but maybe something a little bit different. But you mentioned that you have a strategy where you do a lot of open houses. So my question to you is, did you always, from day one, do open houses, or is that a newer strategy? Tell me about that.
So when I first got started, the easiest way to get in front of people is open houses.
Okay.
It's low cost, doesn't really cost you much, not a budget, and you just have an opportunity to be in front of people that are shopping right now.
Right.
So that in itself, I started with 5 open houses a week, and as my career blossomed, then now I only do 1 or 2.
Okay, so in the very beginning, that's what jump started your business.
Correct.
Okay, and then you were doing them on Saturday, Sundays, or?
Sometimes I was doing 2 on 1 or 2 during the week, 2 on Saturday, and maybe 1 on Sunday.
Okay, so you were really busy. Okay, now with doing those open houses, what kind of strategy? How would you approach people? Because sometimes, I guess, like anything else, people would be standoffish. How were you able to maneuver and gain business from doing that?
Well, from years of repetition, it was just more or less be yourself. More or less, don't have commission breath. Just be personable. Come with value, just be informative, and just be relation driven. So if you come from that approach, and people are more likely to give you an opportunity.
Okay, now at these open houses, I guess people come in all shape and sizes. So people are coming from all different directions, right? Like maybe, they may be the newsy neighbor across the street, or maybe somebody from a block away who's thinking about selling their house, or a first-time home buyer, or, whatever. I guess that they're all over the place. So what did you see the most, or was it just that complete mixed bag?
Well, I saw individuals that were just kind of coming into the open houses to see the design. So they were developers. Then I saw people, the nosy neighbors, that would come in to see, is my house worth that amount? What do you think? Can I get the same? But
Right.
they're not directly telling you that. Then you have the first time buyers as well. Then you have people that just happen to be walking by that block. They saw an open house and then they were curious.
Right. Okay. Now, what was your follow up? Because, I mean, if somebody is a nosy neighbor, yeah, they may not be thinking about selling right now, but the reason why they're there is they want to get an idea because maybe 2 or 3 years down the road, they may want to sell and they were just, sort of gauging, what was going on. Did you find any of that or no? Right. And then how did you follow up with people?
So I put everyone on an 8x8 action plan. So they just get emails from me. Then they get my newsletter twice a month. I would follow up with phone calls as well. The first 2 weeks, I would call them daily and then so forth. After that, I would follow up and just stay in front of them.
Right.
And some people, they don't want to be bothered. And then you just kind of touch base quarterly.
Right.
And eventually they do pop up. And eventually there is an opportunity there where that nosy neighbor gets a flyer from you, gets your newsletter, and it's like, hey, I'm ready to sell my house.
Right.
Or you can get that person that came in there that happened to be looking at the fixtures, and then you have an opportunity, put a lot in front of them, or you sell Michelle, and eventually you sell a $650,000 home. So there's lots that you just have to go after it. It's not easy. It's like any other lead generation source. You have to go after it, and then the opportunities arise themselves through hard work.
Right. So you're following up with the conversations, and I had one agent said, think about a big bucket. I'm filling up as many names, as many people as humanly possible to fill up that bucket, and then at some point it'll start overflowing, and those people are the ones buying. So they may not be ready today, but a year from now, 2 years, they will be. And if you stay in front of them, then you have an opportunity of getting a deal with it. So yeah, so that's that's pretty smart. So now you mentioned that you're about doing maybe one or so, maybe two a week, down from 5. So what is your focus now? Are you talking to more people in reference to listings? Because you said 60-40. Do you have a fair amount of buyers who you're working with now? What does that look like?
Now, a lot of the people I sold 2-3 years ago, now they're like, hey, Martin, I want to buy a house. So last week I got 3 listings, and I have 3 listings coming live at the end of this month. So it's those opportunities that arise themselves. People see you on social media. People consistently follow your success. So by default, they just become loyal to your systems, to your process, to your results. And now those opportunities arise through the hard work throughout the years. And it just didn't come by itself.
Right.
It was just a system I followed, and I made sure I stuck with it, and I made sure I show results. That's what people care about.
Perfect. Now, you also mentioned in our conversations that you were asking about scripting. So are you big with scripting? Sort of like having sort of canned responses where, you can handle objections, that kind of thing? Or no, you were just asking me a question in reference to scripting. I don't know that.
So everything in real estate is what you say, how to say it, when to say it, and how to follow up. Those are the key aspects of success. So you have to be an effective communicator with someone. If it's a first-time buyer, they have no idea what the loan process is. They have no idea where to start, and they're in an open house. So if you happen to tell them, hey, this is the process from A through Z, that's the approach you take. And they are going to have some questions out there in terms of affordability, in terms of their monthly payments, in terms of what a qualifying credit score is, how much they have to put as a down payment or closing costs. So if you're able to quickly answer those and make you feel comfortable that you're informative and you know what you're talking about, then it builds confidence.
Right. That's right. That I remember, because you were asking about scripting about first-time home buyers. You really wanted to get that lingo down to turn around and say, yes, there is money out there, that kind of thing. So that's right.
So as the market shifts, and I've been through multiple shifts in the past 4 years, you have to shift with it. If you don't, then you lose market share. So for me, if I see an opportunity in terms of first-time buyer programs with a really high interest rate, and I see buy down programs to apply to those, that's an opportunity for me.
Right.
So to me, my success, like many of the agents at KW Power, we're always studying. we're always out there in trainings. We're always adding tools to our arsenal, and it's just extremely important to always be studying the market, the opportunities, the pitfalls, and know how to survive in this market. And it's just, the more you know, the luckier you get, actually.
Right. Right. And that's super smart what you just said, because if you do have, once again, you're not a loan officer, so nobody expects you to know everything cold. But if you have a good understanding of, hey, a 2-1 buy down, if somebody turns around and says, hey, I think interest rates are going to go down in the future, well, great. Well, do you know that you could do potentially a 2-1 buy down and your interest rate could be 4.5% to start as opposed to, 6.5%, those kind of things. That's very smart. And then also, being a student, studying, knowing what's going on, it's huge, because that's going to separate you from an average realtor or a part-time realtor who's not, super serious about their craft. So no, that's super smart. Okay, so last question I have for you. Is there any other thing that you're doing that you're looking at, or any other strategy? Because yes, you did start off with doing a lot of open houses, and that was successful for you. Is there anything else out there that you're doing? Because I do know we mentioned about first-time home buyers. Sure. And that kind of thing. Is there anything else, or is that primarily what you're focusing on now?
Right now, it's a shift in market where I think we're going to shift from really quick from a buyer's market back into a seller's market. So I'm thinking once the interest rate goes to 6.5, 6.25, like in December, everyone knows that Black Friday experience. I think it's going to be in that sense. Past 4 weeks, it's been an uptick ever since we went from 7.4 to high 6%. I've seen a lot of movement in the market. So this is the time where you got to keep your foot in the accelerator. You have to double, triple your efforts, because traditionally in real estate in July and August are vacation months, right, and you have moderate production. So the more you do now is the more likelihood that if those months do turn out traditionally as vacation months, then you'll be fine.
Right.
And but if the interest rate goes to 6.25, 6.75, 6.5, I don't think there's going to be a break. I think it's just going to be multiple offers. Everything's sitting in the city. It's going to fly.
Start to move.
And because everything that's happening, ironically, in down the shore, South Jersey, in the main line, in the suburbs of Philadelphia, in the Poconos, is not happening in the city. So you have so much inventory sitting here, and it's all over the interest rate.
Right.
So I feel once that interest rate, it's in the mid 600 or 6.25, then we're going to have a lot more. I think production is going to double.
Right. Okay. Right. And it shows it as interest rates drop, more people get in. And NAR had a study: for every 1% interest rates drop, 5 million more people can enter the market. Now, granted, that's nationwide, not Philadelphia, nationwide. So without question. And what you mentioned is, because we had this conversation, it'd be really smart to potentially buy now, because now maybe you can get a seller assist. You can do those buy downs because the inventory is staying on the market a little bit longer. But once there's multiple offers, prices start going up, multiple offers, and less opportunity to get a better deal, that kind of thing. So that's really good. One last question for you, Rodriguez. Do you speak Spanish?
Sí, hablo español.
Puedes hablar español, italiano, japonés, yo todo, ¿a que sí?
Solo español, inglés.
Okay, English. Very good. No, because I meant to ask you that. My last name's Lopez, obviously, Pat Lopez. So I meant to ask you that. So very good. Okay. If somebody,
I'm glad I knew how to respond in Spanish.
Right. Okay. So if somebody wants to get a hold of you, they want to buy or sell, how would they do that?
So you can look me up on social media. You could email me, martinrol1911@kw.com, 619-226-9287. So I'm always available.
Perfect. Very good. Thanks for being on the show. Really appreciate
thank
it.
you.
And thank you for the little bit of insight with those open houses, because I know a lot of agents are trying to figure out what to do, and doing open houses could be, hey, you got to go back.
Everything works.
Yeah, everything works.
As long as you have a system and you stick with it long term, it shows results. Anything from door knocking to social media to there's tons of people that fail in those things, but there's tons of people that are high performers, and it just stick with it and do what other people have done successfully before you.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, that's the Real Estate Show with Pat Lopez. Be sure to subscribe below. I have great guests, great content coming on every week. Be sure to follow the show on Facebook and Instagram as well. Leave a comment. Tell me some show topics you'd like me to cover in the future. Remember, this show is everything real estate. Hope you enjoyed the show.